Hi there, and welcome to the Third Impact Anime Podcast, where we talk about anime, video games, and conventions, with a healthy amount of existential dread mixed in. This particular episode may be inappropriate for listeners under the age of 18. You can find out more about our podcast by following us on Twitter at TI_anime, or just like us on Facebook to not see our posts, because that's just how it is now. Thanks again for stopping by, and enjoy the show!
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Third Impact Anime Podcast. I'm Ryan, the host. I'm here today with Marisa.
Hello.
And Sully.
Hello, hello.
And temporary Tori, aka Tobias.
I am present, and also Tori.
You are Tori. Yeah, Tori was originally going to be on this episode, but she's feeling a little under the weather. She probably caught some virus from the mouse. But we have Tobias instead, and he'll do for now. So today, we're all excited to talk about this. We're going to be talking about Devilman Crybaby, the series on Netflix. So, I found this series based on Marisa's recommendation and probably the rest of the internet as well, because everybody's been talking about this. And I was really sick last Monday and Tuesday. I had like a 103-degree fever. And so I watched all of this while pretty damn sick, and that was a trip, but I still really enjoyed it, and I know everybody else did as well. At least I think everybody else did. We'll find out shortly. So, brief background on this. It was based on an old manga by the same name, or rather half the name, of Devilman. It follows
Do you
the same.
want me to take over this part, Ryan, since I'm like the resident Go Nagai person at this point?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. I have just recently become like a big fan of Nagai's work, so I'm not like an expert, but I'm probably the most knowledgeable on the team about him. So it is based on his Devilman manga, which was probably his most successful one. This version more closely follows his original story. The first anime adaptation is a lot campier. It's not as violent. It's not as subversive. So this is kind of like a modern retelling of it. And Nagai himself is a very interesting person. A lot of his works are very sexual, very violent, very over the top, psychedelic, trippy, campy. His favorite work of mine is Cutey Honey, which is also getting a reboot soon later this year. So I'm really excited about that. But Devilman is kind of his magnum opus. It's the thing that, and Mazinger Z is the thing he's most famous for in most circles. And he got into manga because he was on track to go to university, and then he had a 3-week diarrhea attack where he thought his life was ending, and he thought he couldn't shuffle this mortal coil without writing at least one manga, and he did, thinking that would be his last act on Earth. And surprise, he did not in fact die from diarrhea, and he has become a professor of character design at Osaka University. So, life takes strange turns.
So it wasn't diarrhea.
That's good.
That is terrible. I feel bad for even saying that. But
Yep.
Yeah, that's probably the funniest, like, how I got my start in manga story of any artist that I've
Imagine
heard.
if
So
kids ever had like bring your parents to school things.
I had like mad run, and I was like, I'm probably gonna die, so I'm gonna write something. That's that's quite a story. And yeah, so the studio that worked on this as well was Science Saru, and I know Tobias is the resident expert on them. So do you want to give us some background on them?
Yeah, so it's really interesting that we have this Go Nagai adaptation, this like classic work. But then we've got Science Saru that's definitely more modern, kind of like what Sully was saying. So Science Star has only really been an entity in and of itself for a couple of years. I think they started in 2014 or 15. But the heads there have been doing anime for quite some time. So then we've got Masaki Yuasa, who's been working as key animation since like Crayon Shinchan and really early stuff. A lot of his art is based on more Western styles. Like Tex Avery's been a big influence on his style. So we have, for him, we have Kaiba from 2008, something that I think a criminally low number of people really aware of, but did just get a Blu-ray release by Discotech this past year. We have Ping Pong the Animation, which got a bit of traffic.
Oh man, Edwin would be proud.
He would be.
Yeah.
But after Ping Pong, we had Kick Heart, which was, I don't think it was the first, but one of the first kick-started anime productions there. They got a little bit of play on Adult Swim back when that released in like 2014 or 15. And then we've got more recently the Tatami Galaxy. That was, I think, a little earlier actually, 2009. One of those things I think very few people actually have seen or are aware of here. But I think with one of the more recent stuff, for example, Devilman Crybaby, there were 2 movies they put out this past year, Lou Over the Wall and Night is Short, Walk On Girl, which is getting a bit of traffic as well. I think it's starting to really put Yuasa and Eunyoung Choi on the map. That, and they also did an episode of Adventure Time a few years back, which got a lot of people looking at their work, as well as an episode of Space Dandy. I think really early in season 2 of Space Dandy.
Nice.
So So I've been saying this. I've been really parading Yuasa and Science Saru for the past couple of years. Really enjoyed his works and how different they are than most anime and anime styles. I think we're finally hitting a point now where people are starting to really pay attention to paying attention to these guys, and I really hope that we'll see more stuff from him in the next couple of years.
Well, only time will tell. And yeah, which episode of Space Dandy did they direct? Do you remember?
Looking at this here, it looks like episode 9 was the one that Choi worked on. This was Dandy and Meow arrive on a world ruled by giant sentient plant life.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, so the style and looking at the pictures, the actual plant design looks very different. Their Adventure Time episode is very, very obviously their stuff. I'm gonna have to look that one up to see what the title is. Any Adventure Time fans among us at all?
No, I'm not an Adventure Time person.
Okay.
Not really.
Yeah,
Me either.
I'm not really. But I did see the episode. If you go back and just find it, it's very, very different than the normal style, and you could definitely see Yuasa and Choi really shine through in that episode for sure. So if you're a fan of this, if you're a fan of that really interesting style, that very bold color choice there, the more Western character design than anime style. For those of you who've seen the first episode, the entire ending is just very, very much their style and very different than the rest of the show.
Yeah, the art style I really liked. It's like I like Lupin when it does that as well. It takes you back, and millennials were nostalgic because we apparently lived in a pretty good time, even though we're probably too young to remember if it was actually that great. But we had scrunchies and pogs and older looking anime, so we're nostalgic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed the art style. It was great and definitely refreshing from all of the shininess we see nowadays, which, not to say it's bad, it's just sometimes looks like a little bit too much.
For sure, yeah.
The spindle limbs. I love the spindle limbs.
Yeah. the devil run
seems to kind of have a lag to it, like it just sort of stops and everything, and then it's and go. It's that amuses me for some reason. Just I don't know if that was an artistic choice or what, but
yeah, I don't think the things like the devil run would have actually worked if it looked newer than it did, because just the fact that it looked so spazzy and you can't really make out all the limbs moving, they're just kind of thrashing. It's funny, and you can't really translate that if you're trying to be super precise.
It's kind of like the experiment where they were trying to snapshot a horse to see if its legs were all off the ground at one point. You could
Yeah,
do that
yeah.
here.
Yeah.
They kind of pinwheel across the zooming paths. First time I saw it, I just died hysterically. I was like,
Yeah.
what is this? And I was like, is this just an Akira thing? And then you see all the other devils, and you're like, nah, their thing.
No, it's the Devil Run.
The Devil Run.
It was so funny. I really enjoyed every time they brought that out because it just made my day. Also, it kind of brings us back to an age of like where we had Blockbuster Video still, and people would rent an anime not really knowing what it was except for what they saw on the shelf, and people tend to call that the OVA effect. I think, Tobias, you know a little bit more about that than I do. Do you want to?
Yeah, this has been one of the things that a lot of people have been talking about in regards to the show. Anybody really, looked up anything, you've probably seen a couple of people mention this, and that, back in the day when we go into Blockbuster Video on Friday night, to rent a movie or a video game for the weekend, as a sort of treat. We'd go in and you'd go to this, the anime section or the cartoon section. You would see something like Ninja Scroll. And you're like, man, I love ninjas. Like, ninjas are great.
No.
And then your parents not knowing anything. Okay, ninjas, whatever. Let's get it to go ahead and shut the kid up. So you go home. Maybe you've got friends over. You pop in Ninja Scroll in your VHS tape. 30 minutes later, there's vagina snakes. And maybe your parents aren't really aware of what you're watching, but you're just kind of like shocked and amazed that you're watching this thing that you probably shouldn't have been watching, but because of this new fancy thing, Japanese animation, Japanese porno cartoons, it's just kind of this new shocking thing. And we don't really have that anymore, where animes become more mainstream, but just after a decade or two of it being on TV, you can just easily get the new stuff as it comes out on Crunchyroll. You can read reviews of it, and I think most people would agree that even if you don't necessarily agree that anime has gotten better in the past or worse the past decade or two, it has gotten a lot more samey in a lot of ways. And we kind of have this loss of this shock factor that got a lot of us older fans into anime in the first place.
I'll definitely say this show had shock factor. That's for damn sure.
I think it's safe to say that at least some of you here in the podcast, like, that's probably what got you in anime in the first place, is because it looked very different than cartoons.
Not really. I watched Pokemon.
Yeah, there's still, like, that's still something you see a lot, and like a common thread in fandom as a whole with anime is that it's how different it was than just the cartoons, the kind of crap that we watched, when we were really young, and how different it was.
Yeah, no, I do remember renting. I think it was Spirited Away. No, not Spirited Away. That was recent. It was one of the Miyazaki movies when Blockbuster, still existed.
Yeah.
I rented one of those because I wanted like an animated movie. I didn't really know what anime was, but I was like 7. So, I rented one of those, and like, even then, like, looking back, I noticed it, but I didn't really actually point it out. But I did enjoy the fact that it was different and didn't look like every other Disney cartoon that I had watched for years and years and years.
Sure. And then you've got, people watching Toonami, where you've got like DBZ, but then you've got like Sailor Moon, which is very different than a lot of, cartoons as well. You had Gundam Wing, which had these really complex political struggles, as well as, this like giant robot action as well. So it was something very different than the Western stuff. So to go ahead and tie that all back to Devilman specifically, now we live in an age where you can watch whatever's coming out as it comes out on Crunchyroll. Even on Netflix, you can just, whatever, even though it's all lumped together in a binge watch session, kind of like Little Witch Academia, it's still kind of samey. But then out of nowhere comes Devilman Crybaby, this thing which, all 5 previous fans of Devilman were aware of. At the time, people had talked about it. I was aware of it, but I didn't really thought about it because I wasn't really a big fan. I hadn't really kept up with it at all. But then everyone's talking about this new series and how weird it is. And for those of you who've watched it, the very first episode, it starts pretty okay. But then by the end of it, we have this very, very strong, if nothing else,
this psychedelic orgy of gore.
Yeah,
literally.
Like,
that's literally exactly, that is the best way to sum up that scene. It was a psychedelic gore orgy.
I don't think
was like this weird combination of Super Jail, Dr. Seuss, and Toei's Alibaba film.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. Do we want to like kind of sidewind into that now?
I love this
Wow.
show, and I'm going to have to rewatch it like 3 times in order to I just absorb it completely. Because normally I'm not like a big fan of very hypersexual anime. It's just something that tends to turn me off unless it's done either very high kitsch and just playing with it, which I think this show does, or it's
Yeah, for sure.
in a more art house way. Like I get tired of, as you know, this is a mature show, so I'm going to be a little more loose on this podcast. I get tired of what I told Austin is, anime tit squad 5, the breasts return. Like it seems like every season of just girls going ugu and flapping their jugs, and I'm like, I'm very sick of this. But then somehow Akira sitting down, plopping down, and looking at a huge theater projection of this girl riding this guy. I was like, you know what? I'm okay with this for some reason.
It was used like in an artistic way, and it was meant to like show the environment, and like they are like literally in the pits of hell right now, which is why people are getting possessed by demons at this place. Like this is literally why this is happening, because they were basically at the gates of hell. And also it was pretty comedic, like when Akira, when he's still the innocent little sweet child, accidentally bumps into the girl. She's just like, "Oh, do you want to touch my boobs?"
Do you want to take ecstasy, little boy?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I was just like, "Oh my god!" Like I started laughing so hard. I was just like, "Yeah, sure, this is the world we live in. Why not?" And like all these people are like doing it on the dance floor and like probably drugged off their asses,
Yeah.
and just like,
I want that huge neon Bahamut that they have in that club.
yeah,
I was just
yeah.
so confused because I'd decided, you know what, I'm gonna watch this because I saw fan art of obviously of Ryo and Akira, and one of my favorite artists of all time, she released stuff, and I was like, okay, I have to go watch this before I get massively spoiled. It looks really cool. I get to that, and I'm like, I'm watching it. Also, I'm watching it on Netflix on my phone. I'm in bed, just kind of chilling, and I'm like, hopefully, I don't think my parents are home. They're not home. They're at work today. They better not be hearing this. So, like, every single time I'd listen, like, that just showed up, and I was like, do I keep going? I'm so
Yeah.
intrigued now. Like Sully, I don't like hypersexualized things. It just freaks me out. I don't like it. So I was like, do I keep watching this? I feel bad for Akira, and I kind of want to know what this story goes. And it just, all the episodes just kept doing that. Like, I want to know more. I want to know more.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get enough of the show. And I just kind of, it's like, oh, look, boobs. Let's pretend that didn't show up on the screen and move on with life.
Yeah. No, like I kind of thought that too. Like when I was watching it, you gave me the recommendation, so I was like, Marissa doesn't like super porn. I wonder why she liked it. I mean, pretty much. Like, let's be honest here. And so I was just like, okay, well, this is a lot, but whatever. So I move on, and like then he gets possessed, and I was like, okay, I actually kind of get why they did that. And like it popped up a few other times, and pretty much every other time there was like boobs on the screen was like artistic, or it had a purpose, or you could kind of logically connect two and two. Granted, yeah, probably fan service, obviously. But the funniest thing for me, you mentioned your parents not being home and being at work when you were watching the porny scene. I was watching the scene where he's watching porn on the big screen and blasting the noise in his school. And everybody's like, "What are you doing? You're going to get in trouble." My roommate walks in, probably because he hears like extremely loud, like moaning. And so he looks at me and he's just like, "Why are you watching porn at 1 p.m. on a Monday?" And so I just like kind of am like a little embarrassed, but at the same time, like don't give a shit because I'm not watching porn. And I was like, you know what? I'm not watching porn. I am watching someone watching porn. There is a difference.
Ain't porn, kid. This is art.
Yeah. And like I felt like I was channeling Akira at that moment because he just kind of was sitting there watching porn like he didn't give anything.
I think my favorite moment in that episode, this is the most immature thing for me to latch on to, is when the girls are describing how Akira has changed. It's like, oh, he's taller now. Oh, he's buffer now. And the one girl who just shouts, Akira's got a huge dick. And then next shot, a lovingly framed shot of his bulge in his running uniform. And at that moment, I just felt one with the universe.
And yeah, like I said, it always came back to like humor with the
Mhm.
porny stuff. It was really funny the way they used it.
The one death that I mourn in that show is Big Dick Girl.
Who?
The girl who shouts Akira has a big dick.
Oh my gosh.
The
No,
one death I
can-
mourn.
I don't know if this is like getting too off of this, but the can we talk about the saddest death? Like the one death that just like ripped your heart to shreds?
We'll get to
There's-
those.
Because spoilers, everyone dies. I'll just say small thing on that. Every single like once I got to like those last like 3 episodes, I was like, they keep killing people every single episode, and it's someone important now. Everyone's gonna die, isn't it?
Yeah.
It all comes tumbling down, tumbling down.
No,
But we'll
like
get to that.
yeah, on that topic though, like it all keeps tumbling down. The pacing in this show was pretty much unlike anything we get nowadays in like the mainstream releases because it was really fast for a 10 episode series. It when it ended, it was in an entirely different place than where it began. And like that only happened in 10 episodes, which is insane to me, like actually looking back. Like every mini arc was contained to like 2, maybe 3 episodes. And then once that finished, like it moved on to another thing, which the scale was like colossally different. And there was so much other stuff going on now that, yeah, you couldn't really, if you looked down for a second, you missed something. Like it started with him just becoming a Devilman, learning his powers, to Miki getting kind of sort of like not really molested, but like creeped on by the photographer. She became a devil and he exorcised her with tonguing, and that was entertaining.
As you do.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean,
Suck the claw monster out.
yeah. It was funny. So yeah, just everything that happened, it just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, and just by the way, we're going to be talking full spoilers here. So if you haven't watched the entire show yet, just leave off here, come back when you're done. So when it starts with him becoming a Devilman and learning his powers, it's pretty small, almost had like a Monster of the Week vibe to it. And that diverted very quickly because you start to see him actually interacting with the characters, learning more about what he is, about Rio's goals. And then you meet his parents, sort of. And yeah, his parents get brought up and then they subsequently get killed off, which was like, geez, okay, that's kind of intense. Well, at
Yeah,
least he still has this other family. Oh, wait. Yeah.
I think speaking about Akira's family, I feel like you said like the first couple of episodes was kind of like monster of the week kind of thing. So it was following that old trope of like shonen anime where it's like, oh, Devilman's gonna fight evil demon things that are doing doing things, and everything's gonna be fine with the world. And you get to the point where Akira's mom is pretty much coming to warn him about his father. She gets killed and he has to kill his father. That's I think that's the turning point for
Yeah.
Akira, where he starts to think, wait, hold on, there's other people, like all these these devils, a lot of them aren't true devils. Some of them, like my father, are devilmen like me. They still have a soul, they still have a heart, and they're gonna fight against it. And I'm now not just killing like bad people, I'm killing innocents.
Yeah.
What do I do? And Rio's just like, whatever, that's your job. And
Devils die, the end.
devils die at the end, and you're like, something's up with this kid.
Well,
I think
Rio
that
was like always kind of, you're not a
he was shady from the very beginning.
you're not a normal person if you get your best friend possessed by, an evil being.
Amon, yeah,
Yeah.
for a reason.
Amon is like, I'm fairly certain Amon is a name that comes up in the Bible.
It's one of the main demons in demonology is Aemon. I think it's also where Amaimon from Blue Exorcist gets his namesake from.
Probably. Yeah, exactly. Like it's literally an evil being that you're like you're goading to possess your friend, and I'm like, okay, you could probably go about destroying demons a different way, but okay. And so so I was just like, you're a little shady, but you know, they always have to have shady, otherwise the show's boring. And he was willing to do whatever you needed to do to get his task completed, which was to purge the world of all devils. And
so we think.
Dun, dun,
yeah.
da-da.
It was his goal. Like it actually was, until he had a self-awakening and realized, oh wait, I literally want to do the opposite of it because I'm Satan.
Yep.
And yeah, which I kind of saw that coming a little bit, but
Kind of with the fact that Akira's like the devil man, he's out, like we know he's a devil and he's in all the black, like in the darker colors, but he has a heart, while Ryo has like next to no emotions and he's in like the pure white. So it kind of throws
there was definitely a contrast there.
A contrast. And small little jump ahead when it comes to Ryo. That last episode, I think it's like actually the second to last episode, or might have been the last episode. I can't remember. This series went by so fast. I watched it in like 2 days. You see him when he's struggling and he's trying to figure out his past, because he's like, I feel like I'm doing good. And then he goes to Peru, and when he leaves, you see over his door, because you never see the entrance to the door when Akira and him are coming in and out. It actually said 666 over it. So it was like this big, like, in your face, hi, yes, he's Satan. Like, immediately, he's Satan, no ifs, ands, or buts, kind of reference. So I'm interested to go back and watch the series at some point to see if there are more references to the animators and the creators kind of put in there to like slyly hint about his origins. But
yeah, I definitely want to go back to this one, but I'm gonna need some time. Like this was a really heavy show. Like, dear God, was it a heavy show? There was so much that happened, and like I just kind of lost it. Like I noticed also when everybody and their mother was becoming a demon because Ryo basically outed them to the world. I noticed that the little brother had like black eye makeup on. Yeah. I was like, oh shoot.
When you get possessed by a demon, you become a mid-2000s MCR fan.
Pretty much, yeah. And so I was just like, wait a minute. And like, I tried to convince myself. I was like, no, maybe I just am remembering him wrong. And I was like, no, I'm not remembering him wrong. That kid's a demon. And then he ate their cat or their puppy. I forget which it was.
It was like, it was a dog.
It was a dog.
Yeah. And I was just like, yeah.
I started sobbing.
Oh my God, that was so bad. And then the dad gets murdered by the military while trying to put down his family because his son's literally a demon who just ate his wife.
Was eating, and you see him crying because
he needs meat so badly, and like his mom's just like, I'll make you happy, here, eat me.
But at the same time, you see that he's like, Dad, I didn't want to kill Mom. I just like, I can't. And then the dad's just that was probably one of my favorite scenes, was the struggle that the dad had over killing his son. It was just that's I was like,
he lost two families in a very short amount of time. And like then Miki, when she found out, she was just like, okay, and then walks upstairs to her room and then just like explodes. And I was like, yeah, that's about right. But oh my God, it was so rough. Like the nihilism in this show was just way too real. Like for those of you who don't know, nihilism is like the philosophical
Ryan, I would hope that our listeners are educated enough to understand what nihilism is.
I mean, like exact definition is like kind of loose, but it's basically like nothing matters and the world doesn't matter. This show basically literally tells you, yeah, the world doesn't matter. Like nothing at all matters because we're just going to do this again whenever like everything goes belly up. And that's exactly what happened. Like, Rio's plan kind of twisted, and then he turned humans against each other because they're like suspecting everybody's a demon, and the demons all die as well. And then Rio's the only one left because he's Satan. He even kills Akira, which I was actually legitimately surprised by.
I think we were talking about deaths that affect us. I was joking about Dick Girl, but but my favorite moment is when Akira's having this very beautiful conversation, or Rio is having this very beautiful conversation with Akira, and he goes, "You're not speaking. I'm the only one speaking." He just turns, and you see that he's severed from the waist down, and then you see the angels descending. I think they're angels. I've been reading the manga, and in the end scene, they're more clearly shown as being beings like Ryu. So they have
Well,
the same.
Satan was a fallen angel, so yeah, it
Yeah,
would make
but I
sense.
like how the animation here, they're just sort of wheels, which is a biblical reference in a lot of actual like parts of the Bible, or like whatever you want to call like Bible 2.0, like supplementary materials to it. Angels are described as flaming wheels, and that's kind of what they reminded when you have those big geometric things fall to the earth, and you have that last scene of the teardrop looking shape falling to earth, and then the last credit
yeah.
sequence is white.
Yeah, and like
that was my
basically
favorite
you see at the beginning of the show also like a bunch of like white and dark basically drops just pounding the earth and then turning it into primordial soup. And then you see it like go through, cooling down, becoming a planet, becoming hospitable and all that. And then you see that exact same thing at the end because he's just like, well, God's about to do this anyways because I just killed all of humanity and he doesn't want me to be victorious. So you know that he's going to be in a vicious cycle of doing this for his entire existence. Like, he's going to get close to somebody, he's going to, awaken demons again, then he's going to keep doing this over and over and over.
It's really interesting that that they're choosing to do it closer to the manga than the animated series, which is Go Nagai's works are actually very short. I know Cutey Honey is only like 4 volumes, and I know that Devilman's like 5. So the original anime for Devilman was much longer because it was going to be a franchise. You have to get those, 65 episodes back in that day.
It had a
But
lot of filler.
I really liked how concise this was. There are some parts where I was just like, I'm ready to get to some plot here, or I'm ready to kind of move on, or like it kind of slagged right before the scene where they're at the race and Rio first like reveals the demons.
Right.
Like before that, I was like, okay, I'm getting kind of like I'm getting antsy about this show, and then after that happened, I was completely and totally hooked. I had to like take it in 2-episode chunks after that because I had other like commitments like I had to do, so I would like finish that and then rush home and then take 2 episodes and just keep coming back. So I wasn't able to watch it like in one continuous sweep, and I think in a real weird way that made it more like anxious, like you're sitting and you're writing a paper, doing chores, and you're thinking, "Oh God, what's going to happen next?" I find it difficult to like marathon things, so like that was really kind of an interesting experience for me compared to you guys, going through it in one fell swoop.
Yeah, I was not able to wait with this one. That, and I literally had nowhere to go. I was sick. But yeah, it did not stop. And right about that point as well, I was kind of like, this needs to pick up, and then it did. It knew where it needed to pick up. But you kind of expect that with a 10-episode series, which is one of the benefits. But probably the death that had the biggest impact on me was Miki's and subsequently Miko's, because like she goes on a public forum and just decides to like show support for the Devilmen because she's like, they're still people too. They're like literally trying to help you. You guys need to stop trying to kill people because you're killing people. And apparently that's not good enough for humanity. So they go and try to, lynch her, and they burn her house down.
Burn the witch.
Yeah. So she runs off with Miko, who is the jealous demon who wants to run as fast as her in track, and they were friends for a long time, and she sacrifices herself for Miki because, you know, the lynch mob is chasing them. And then Miki is running away and actually gets straight up killed. Like, a guy runs a knife down her back, which I was kind of wondering the whole time. I was like, all right, Akira, when are you going to show up and save her? And he didn't. That did not happen. And then not only that, they severed her in various places and stuck her up on pikes, and just, you know, yeah, it was disturbing. And I just kind of was like really bothered by that scene because I just got that stuck in my head, and I was like, Jesus, they legitimately have lost their minds to the point where they took a high school girl who tried to tell you that murdering people is bad, and you cut her up and hoisted her up on pikes to just like show everybody, hey, we're gonna keep killing people. But yeah, it was like it was a pretty rough scene.
I love the scene where she's talking about, like, I support Devilman, and you can see the internet comments, and one says hypocrite, and then below one says, let's have an orgy.
Yeah, yeah.
my
The
God.
internet comments this show. I mean, this is a very serious show, but at the same time, Go Nagai's works tend to have, like, a lot of very subversive, raunchy kind of tongue-in-cheek humor. I watched the dub because my Netflix, whenever subtitles would change, would flicker, and it would drive me up the wall. That
Jeez.
and Rio's English was sometimes kind of awkward for my ears. So I watched the dub for like after episode 4, and I love the scene where the dad is going, you know, I trust you. Are you doing drugs? Just the way it's delivered, just like I was howling. A lot of the delivery is incredibly funny, and a lot of the animation. I love when he's talking about the flakes on the rice, and he starts like hovering over the brother and waggling his hands, and it's just so over the top and cartoonish, and it's so silly, and I loved it. Like there's enough humor to alleviate the very, very dark tone of the series. And at first I was kind of put off. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be too funny. It's kind of ridiculous. And then part of it is you kind of roll with the punches after a while.
Yeah.
So you do have the internet commenters, the little brother who, I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of glad that he turned into a demon because I don't like kid siblings in TV shows a lot of the time. So the faster they get, the happier I am.
Okay,
I mean,
thanks, Sully.
look, he just got on my nerves. Although I do love that he's the one that kind of introduces that Devilman, the anime, is a real thing in this universe.
Yeah, that made me laugh. That was really
I like
funny.
to think that, like, because this is, you know, a better adaptation of the original manga, that Devilman, the anime, existed independently in this universe, and they just happen to look like the anime.
I like to
Yep.
think of it like this is a second timeline from like the original where, you know, the world got nuked by God and he basically pressed the reset button. And the first Devilman series was the first time around, and this series is the second time around.
Yeah,
And
this is like some
Rio
once
is
upon a
doing the same
time,
old
you
stuff.
know, dark curse shit we have going on right now.
Yeah,
Pretty
exactly.
much. But I like how they have the references to the Devilman like series, but it's not like in your face. It's not like like an obvious thing. It's just like, oh, kids are watching it, and there's merchandise
And a cat costume.
and the cat costume, and then it was just kind of like it was there, and you're like, oh, so Devilman exists in this universe as a show, and that's about it. It's kind of like the Looney Tunes that show up all the time in like the DC animated stuff.
Yeah.
Like it's just there. And you're like, oh, here's a reference, but they don't really explicitly focus on it too much. It was just kind of like a nice nod, kind of thing to the original series.
Yeah, referential humor is great as long as it has like a backseat and doesn't like shove it in your face that makes it like the only thing that's funny in the show, because the show legitimately succeeded at being funny. And the referential humor was just a nice little nod, like, hey, maybe if you like this, go check out this other thing that aired like 20 years ago. It's also pretty good and follows the same stuff. But yeah, I was glad that it was like really subtle, but it was still really funny that it was there. And yeah, I enjoyed that little add-on. But one thing I wanted to talk about also, the pretty much duality between Miki and Miko, aka other Miki. So Miki is the main love interest, and Miko is another girl named Miki, but they all call her Miko to distinguish her from Miki because she's a bigger track star than Miko. And you kind of see that she's just like depressed that she's the other Miki, and she wants to be the main Miki, so she wants to beat other Miki. My God, I am saying Miki a lot. She wants to beat the main girl in track so she can be popular again and have people call her by her real name and not have to be like, hey, you go to school with her, and be like, hey, you're you. But then she becomes a demon and eats the guy that took her to the orgy club, because that's what people do apparently when they become demons, is they eat people. So
And
yeah,
apparently become incredibly horny.
Incredibly horny, incredibly hungry, and just turn into My Chemical Romance fans.
Yep.
And also run like, I don't know, spiders.
They look like paddle boats.
Yeah, that's a good analogy.
Just
Yeah,
flailing their arms.
paddle boats is a good analogy.
Yep.
But yeah, it was entertaining. I really enjoyed seeing their arc, and I was actually kind of confused at first though, because I thought that they looked like relatively similar, and I don't remember details very quickly, so I couldn't remember what color length Miki's hair was. And then when she was talking to the rap guy, when he was introducing himself to her, and she got called out, like, and he was like, hey, you go to school with Miki, don't you? And she was like, yeah, I know her. Then she gets called Miki as well, and I was like, wait, was that Miki just trying to pretend like she's not her, so she doesn't get all this attention? And then I was like, no, this keeps happening. Maybe it's like a flash forward thing and you're seeing Miki in the future, and maybe I should be paying attention to this. And I was just like, oh no, it's just a duality type deal. So it was a little confusing, and I definitely will pick up on that a little bit better the second time around, but I thought it was still pretty cool.
Also, one thing that I really want to touch on is the duality between Akira and Ryo, because a lot of people, obviously, fangirls ship them like no one's business because of just how their relationship is throughout the entire series, and the fact that in the end Ryo admits that he loved Akira and
I mean,
was his weakness.
as somebody who, like, I hate when people like try to ship everything that
Mhm.
moves. Yeah, this was like not even subtle. They definitely were shipped.
They were shipped, but at the same time, everyone, I am a shipping fan. I love my ships. You know this. Sully
Yeah.
knows it.
Yeah.
Problem is, I cannot stand them together like that, because it's just like Ryo hurt Akira so
Well, yeah,
much.
realistically, Ryo is like a piece of garbage who was
That's why-
literally Satan.
Yeah, I mean, literally.
Yeah.
Literally
Star.
Satan.
Literally
But
Satan. But
We say
no,
literally Satan ironically all the time. This guy is literally the devil.
but people still ship them despite the fact, like, at the beginning I was like, oh, I'm gonna kind of ship them because haha, everyone does, so I'm just gonna kind of roll with it. And as the series progressed, I was like, yeah, I don't like Ryo, and he is a jerk, and he pretty much caused all of Akira's suffering. He caused Akira to suffer until the end, and it was pretty much like the two of them, like they were the last two, and Akira died because of Ryo, and he had to go through all of that. I'm like, that is not a healthy relationship. Why are we shipping in a healthy relationship?
Can I make a
Ah.
defense?
Well, the healthy relationship, sorry, Sully, one sec. The healthy relationship was Miki and Akira, and they like both
Mhm.
truly loved each other, and just it was not meant to be because people are garbage.
Yep.
My reasoning is I will grant the very important, like, let's not have pedophilia or rape fetishism in BL circles, but for me, I do sometimes like really fucked up relationships, not necessarily romantic ones, but just people who their interactions with each other are incredibly broken. And that last scene where he's talking to him and the end of the world comes, for some reason that just really resonated with me, and I really liked the idea of it. And then when he says, you killed the only thing I ever loved, and he says, but I loved you. It's so selfish and blinding, and I don't know why I love that. I don't know why I love the idea of this that Satan himself has fallen in love with this person and is still Satan and is still doing these horrible, terrible things. And it, for some reason, I just really love it. I don't know why I love how fucked up it is.
Yeah,
For
that
some
end
reason, I
scene.
find it weirdly beautiful.
Yeah, the end scene was kind of like weirdly beautiful because like you kind of think at first like the battle's over, they're all dead except for maybe those two, and they're just talking like fatigued, and then the end of the world's about to happen. You realize, oh wait, Satan's alone, and he just kind of realizes like I'm alone and I did this to myself. But you also know it's Satan, so nothing's going to change. He's going to continue doing this like a vicious cycle over and over and over again.
Hmm.
I don't know.
I'm
Like, as much as I'm all for supporting healthy male-male relationships in anime and fan circles, sometimes I really do like more nuanced, complicated, or just fucked up things.
well,
I
to
mean,
each
that's
their
fair. Yeah.
own.
Keeps it interesting.
I'm not saying don't ship them because they like
Let he who is without problematic ships cast the first stone.
Yeah.
yeah, true.
No,
But
it's to each their own.
ship what you want to ship, just whatever. But I was gonna say, because Ryan, you mentioned like, oh yeah, it's the two of them at the end. They're the only survivors. I am surprised you didn't notice, like right before that, his legs got eaten off.
I did
Like,
notice that, but you can live without your legs.
well, true, and then like healing factor, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I'm like, he's been taking a ton of damage.
Which is why I thought it was just like fatigued. Like they both took like a beating and they were just kind
Okay.
of laying back, like, oh God, we just beat the crap out of each other.
Yep. Because Rio seemed like, oh, okay, whatever, I won. Hooray! Like, he didn't seem as fatigued as like Kira did, because
Yeah.
Kira was just constantly melding with the other Devilmen at the end.
That was the thing
Going.
also, is like his legs got bitten off, but he was melding with the Devilman to fix his wounds. So I was like, maybe he melded with enough people to become like Super Devilman and like actually managed to beat him, and then no. But yeah, no, once I saw his face was kind of like had that deadpan look on it, I was like, oh, the dude's dead. Like, there's literally nobody left.
Nope.
And also that scene, like at the beginning of that episode, where he walks up just like cradling Miki's head, I was just like, oh God, you literally have nothing left.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the other character that kind of got some popularity in Coda?
Yeah.
One thing I did like about this series is the sexuality isn't really a thing. He has a relationship with a man who he then devours. But other than that little fact, it's complete. Like in the club scenes, you see men and men together. You see men and women together. You see women and women together. It's very
Yeah.
is all of the wall as this show is. It's very just everyday. It's not commented upon. It's not some love that dare not speak its name like Yuri on Ice, but it's a very large theme. I mean,
Well, also
Satan-
difference here is like they don't have laws on Netflix about, what they can and can't portray.
I mean, just show a teenage boy watching big screen porn if you want to.
Exactly.
And even in the original manga, Satan is this sort of intersex androgynous figure. You know, he has a very masculine body, but he has the breasts and the very feminine.
Yeah,
Which
yeah,
is
he
also
had
features, but still
the
the very
breasts in this
feminine
one
facial
too.
features.
Yeah, he had the breasts in this one too, and I was just like, okay, Satan has boobs.
Well, I mean,
That's
that's a very common depiction in Renaissance art is demons being sort of a third sex or having very bizarre body. Like even Bahamut, if you look at the actual, engraving, has female
like
anatomy
almost
on his chest.
being hermaphroditic in a way.
Hermaphroditic is yes, technically in the literary sense, because when you say hermaphrodite, it is in a literary artistic sense. Intersex is what you can say in the real world where we discuss these in an academic and medical way.
Sure.
So, I mean, there's a painting of someone selling his soul to a demon, and the demon has a face on his ass. So these
Oh
sort
my
of
Demons are weird.
ideas of what demons are. I mean, looking at the designs in Devilman, which can we talk about the character design, the demons and the characters, and Go Nagai's bizarre little tick where a lot of his main characters have masks or facial features that come down to a point on the nose. You see it a lot in Cutey Honey with like Sister Jill. Devilman has it. Their Claw, Monsters of the Day have it. A lot of demons have it. I don't know why I love that. That
I loved
weird
that
little
one minion of Rio's that had like it was just like a ball and was basically just kind of his like mini commander that just did nothing but talk smack.
I love her.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know
She
who I'm
was
talking
like one of
about.
those Fry Kids from a 90s McDonald's ad, but like with a bad RuPaul face.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
'Cause
pretty accurate.
she was like his the secretary,
Yeah,
correct?
essentially.
Yeah. Oh
I
my
love
gosh.
how the one guy's like plastic surgery, and I just get that scene in like the '89 Batman where they go love that Joker. I was imagining she was going to say that at any moment.
But then
Yeah.
came fuzzy psychedelic face thing floated in the air.
I mean, just the animation on the demons constantly shifting and these gurgling, slimy, winged things that are these polymorphs. Just the way they did it was just so clever and just so unsettling. Like whenever they were on screen, I was either laughing because like the ones that are all in like the little gang area, and there's like the leader who's normal, and then the woman, and then the guy who looks like David Lynch. Like they made me laugh, but when they're actually fighting or like consuming people, it's just so they're weirdly comedic, but like unsettling, like a deep sea fish or something.
Yeah. Like when Miko transformed for the first time and you saw she was basically like a giant spider, it was like kind of unnerving at first because I was like, oh my god, like she's so grotesque, and then just the animation, I was just like, all right, that looks really cool.
I love that when Satan is discussing the history of the demons, dinosaurs are demons.
Oh yeah, that was
there's a
fun.
Triceratops that's from hell, literally from hell. I don't know why that sort of all of these sort of monsters in human imagination and in history are all demons, and this is our way of understanding them. Ogres, vampires, zombies, these are all demons, and how humans have kind of understand and coexisted with them.
I really want to make like a Land Before Time joke right now. Like Littlefoot, does that look like the face of Mercy?
Oh my gosh.
Tree stars are people?
Oh my gosh.
Like, yeah. Does Littlefoot look like he was like kidding around? Like that dude was a killer.
Thanks, Ryan. You just ruined my childhood now.
Mine too.
But I found that really like a really cool nod. I was like, oh my gosh, that's really smart. That's a nice little cool like tie-in to other stuff. Like they've been here all along. They're the original inhabitants of Earth. It wasn't humanity, and God's the one who put humanity on there to be spiteful towards Satan.
Yeah.
But
I mean, Satan says, I've fallen for these simple-minded, stupid creatures, and God ruined it by putting humans here, and they, blowing them up and leaving their spirits to possess humans.
yeah, but the interesting thing was there was when it comes to possessing the humans, a handful of characters never got possessed. because we see throughout the entire thing, Miki stays strong. She never,
No, Miki got possessed, remember?
no. She didn't become the monster. The thing, like, kind of, it can go into people. It was like a weird,
Yeah, it took her over, but she
yeah,
like
it took her over,
yeah.
but she didn't become like a demon or a devil. The thing was in her body. It was a little different than like Akira's dad or Akira himself, because I don't think you can actually like purge the demon. It's stuck with you forever until you die. So the demon itself, um, I don't think they can exist in this world unless they are attached to humans now.
Yeah, I
They're
think that was the case.
Yeah, and the interesting thing was, because of, if you look at the characters that were not possessed, like Miki's parents, they were Christian, kind of a obvious subtle thing that they kind of did. They prayed before meals.
Well, her
Um,
brother.
but her brother was, but if you noticed a handful of times when he would turn the TV on, he was watching Akira's porn.
Oh, really?
This kid, yes,
I don't
he
remember
was
that.
watching it in like the first episode. You see him turning it on, and he sees it.
No one
Um,
in this show can set a password.
yeah, apparently. But the people, like, Miki's brother became possessed because of his small little perverted mind, because he was a young kid. It was more of a curiosity for him. He didn't know it.
Right.
So that's how he became possessed. But the interesting thing is, and it's probably, you don't even care about these guys, the rappers. None of them did, and they're usually seen as deviants and pushed against society.
Well,
And
they were actually good guys. They
they were
straight up offered to protect Miki from the
Yep.
lynch mob.
Yeah, because when you see them at the beginning, you're like, okay, these guys are kind of, they're kind of dicks. They're kind of
Yeah.
jerks. Like, what are they doing? And then later on, you're like, no, these guys are super sweet. One of the guys, I think, has a crush on Miki and actually really truly cares about her. That's the one who gave her the earrings,
Yeah.
and that was kind of heart-wrenching to see that they're like the last couple of people that truly had not been taken over by the demons, or had not gone against humanity and the demons, um, were eventually killed off because of them aligning themselves with Akira and Miki. So
Well, yeah. Also, like, on that note, I just kind of like noticed at the beginning, she was getting involved with some really seedy people. Like she gets involved with that like photographer who clearly wants to shoot her nude. And then she gets like goes up and meets the street gang. She has this big old smile on her face, like she's hanging out with friends. And I was like, dude, they're a street gang. They're like literally whipping out guns and stuff right now. What the hell are you doing? And then like, yeah, you come to find out, yeah, they actually kind of were friends because they weren't just stereotypical street thugs.
mhm.
I
And
like their little raps about
Yeah.
every other episode.
those
They're
were
Yeah.
just, I love them.
But Miki was so pure of a character and so honest and good-hearted that it was really like a brush of, like, at first I was like, oh my god, this girl is obnoxious and annoying with how, like, just innocent she is. But then later on in the series, you're like, this is a breath of fresh air. I really enjoy Miki a lot. And she was such a dramatic, well-rounded character. Like, she knew who she was. She had no problems with herself, and she had so much confidence. It was astounding how much confidence this girl had in herself and her abilities. And
If only she
don't
could have run a little faster.
she wouldn't have made it anyways.
No.
Yeah,
Because she was
probably
at that point, she was running away from one lynch mob into another.
another lynch mob. And if you like, Akira lands at the house, like, he didn't know where she
Yeah, he didn't know where she was, and he was also beaten to a pulp. He didn't have his wings at that point because that demon general just beat him to a,
Yeah.
like, oh god. That entire episode was just like, is anything ever gonna be okay? No?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
But another, I think, yeah, it happened when you mentioned Miki's, like, her blog post and stuff. That was, I recall that was happening at about the same time that Akira was trying to protect those people that were getting like stoned.
That's exactly when it was taking place.
Oh my gosh, that scene. I was watching the kid. I was like, wait for it. It's always
Yeah.
the kids that are, yes, they're the most susceptible to societal changes and they just kind of follow the grain. But at the same time, I remember watching, like, if you give a kid like something that like happened, like, sorry, trying to think of a good example. Like when there was issues way before gay marriage was legal, I was watching like kids react and stuff, and kids were like, "Why can't anyone love each other?" Like kids have this innate like honesty and like purity kind of to them.
They
Like
have
they're
a
like, I don't.
simple view of the
They have a
world.
simple view of the world, and they're like, "Why are we doing this?" And you notice the kids are the first ones to drop the stones and go hug him.
Yeah.
And seeing the kids, the parents, and the adults go, "What are we doing?" And it's always the kids that are going to influence the older generation into realizing their mistakes, which was like
The only
probably one of my
thing
favorite
about
scenes.
that scene is like, yeah, it was it was a touching scene, but like for a brief moment, it gave me hope that maybe humanity can pull through this, and then they didn't.
Didn't, yeah, because then Coda, traitor's bastard,
Yeah, Coda.
came in and just like destroyed all of that, and you're like, well, there went the happy moment, ruined.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Like I
a
said, this
good
show
story
had
does not
so
have a happy ending.
yeah, no, this show definitely did not have a happy ending, and like I think I messaged Marissa like immediately after, and I was like, "What the hell? I need happy."
Yeah, no, because I was the first person to finish the show, or was
Yeah, you
Sully?
were.
Yeah, I was.
No, you were, because I only finished it like today. Like I said, took episodes as I had time for them.
Because I finished it, and I knew we were talking about it like together, but I missed some stuff because of chat going crazy. But I was like,
Life.
yeah, life, and I'm like, uh, what did I just watch? And everyone's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I just finished Devilman, and they're like, don't say anything. I'm like,
I
Ryan,
want
go
to
watch
say
it.
something. Yeah.
I'm like, Ryan, please go watch it because I know you will binge it. And then you binged it in 2 days, and you're like,
No, I binged it in a day.
well, true, yeah, you binged it in a day, and you're like, what did I just watch? I'm like, thank you. I can talk to someone about this because I was actually talking to poor Jesse. If you're listening to this, I apologize. I was trying to like kind of vent about this show and how confusing it was, and without talking too much about things because she's not gonna watch it. Um, Jesse is too pure innocent for this world. Uh,
Oh yeah.
and she was like, uh-huh. I'm like, I just gotta get it off because it's weird. Ah.
It was painful. Like I said before, the nihilism in this show, like it just kept on ramping up. Like it had like minor themes in the beginning, like with the orgy and everything, and then just it literally came to the end where nihilism is true. Literally nothing matters. Everybody's gonna die eventually.
Hooray.
Yeah, it was really rough. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up pretty much everything we had to say about it. Do you guys have any closing thoughts?
Definitely give it a watch.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
definitely check out the manga, which is being licensed by Seven Seas. And if you also really are just kind of hooked into the crazy go-go world of Go Nagai, see what I did there? Definitely watch Cutey Honey. Read Cutey Honey because it's even weirder in the manga. Mazinger Z, I haven't seen or read that yet, but I am basically just like methodically going through his stuff because I am an elderly woman in the body of a 24-year-old man. So anything made in the 70s should like came out yesterday for me.
Yeah, I definitely want to check out the original just to see how it compares. And like, I'm expecting a lot more camp because it was a lot older. But
The artwork is beautiful. I think that Go Nagai has just such a wonderful, distinct style, and Cutie Honey is kind
very
of like
colorful.
Oh yeah.
colorful and kind of cartoony and a little like Hanna-Barbera in places, but somehow Devilman, it has a lot of that beauty. It has that sort of, plucky 70s Showa era manga style, but then the last panel of the final scene is just so beautiful and just beautifully rendered. And So it's a treat. It's a definite treat, and it's only 5 volumes, so I know that I'm gonna probably scoop it all up once Seven Seas releases it.
The one
Yeah.
thing actually that we also have to talk about, because we literally didn't touch upon the second half of the name at all, is the fact that he cries at everything.
I mean, honestly, mood.
Yeah. Well, Akira like cries a lot about everything, and they explain that it's because he sees pain in the world and like constantly wants to like help people to feel better, and he like feels everybody's pain. He's very empathetic.
Mhm.
I love that scene where they're all pelting him with stuff and he's crying, and all I could think, and I'm a terrible person for thinking this is, they know not what they do.
Oh my God, Sully!
He also had his hands out like that.
It's like Akira is like Devilman, but also a weird Christ parallel.
I
It's
mean,
like
if you
when
think about
Satan
it,
is tempting Jesus in the desert.
I mean, he kind of was. If you think about it, like Satan was nice, beautiful, white, holy looking, and
The
Akira, who
devil
was
takes a
actually the
place in
good guy, was
chains.
like evil looking, black, actually a demon, and yeah, everything was like flip flopped in this show.
Oh yeah. Um, but when Sully was mentioning like the artwork for the original series, we touched on it before, but one of the things I noticed was the difference. Well, obviously, the ridiculous, like the eye makeup and stuff, especially on the younger brother, like he didn't really change too much. But with like Akira and Miko and many of the characters that were, especially the two of them, they had a very different kind of art style actually. Like when you actually compare them, like the eyes were a little different compared to Miki's and Ryo's.
Yeah.
So it set them apart heavily because they were a lot taller and lankier compared to the actual humans.
Hmm.
So, and I think they did that on, like, it was obviously on purpose, but
That's
they
one of
did
the things that I want to go back
them.
and watch because, like, we know now basically what devils look like and that there's more than just Akira out there. I want to go back and see if, like, anybody he talked to is, like, blatantly a devil.
Most of them, I think, were normal humans.
I think so, but it would be interesting if they, like, threw one or two in there just as, like, a heh for second time watchers. Here's a nice little Easter egg for you that you didn't notice the first time around because you didn't look for it.
It's
Yeah.
interesting that this show came out on Netflix because Japan's reaction to Netflix has been, at least according to what I've read in the past year or so, been kind of lukewarm. So it'll be interesting to see like how this will kind of, what will anime on Netflix look like originally produced straight to Netflix anime look like, and if this is what we're getting, I think it's in good hands.
Well, there's Netflix is coming out with a lot of original stuff. I actually saw an ad today for a Netflix original that I don't know, I don't remember the name of it was, and I don't even really know what the show's going to be about. But it kind of is. It had like animals and looked like a show for kids. It almost kind of reminded me of Penguin's Cafe or Banana a little bit. So we'll see how that one turns out. And you know, they may have had a lukewarm reaction, but it's definitely making the studios money because they keep licensing shows and they keep on giving Netflix exclusives.
It's more that in Japan, more people are used to the idea of buying physical media or watching it on like broadcast television. Streaming is, Japan has this weird thing where we're kind of swapped. Like things that are very advanced and technologically innovative to us is normal for them, and then some things we do are, it's like, some people still use flip phones in Japan, and so streaming still just kind of like, we don't know if it's going to be a thing here, but I think with more anime being originally produced on it, it might have some life in it. So that's what I was referring to, not necessarily like, is it going to
Okay.
be any good? Just what
Yeah.
will originally produced in Japan anime look like going
Mhm.
straight to streaming?
Yeah,
Yeah.
'cause when I was in Japan for a month, I was like, all right, let's watch my anime. And I go on a Crunchyroll, and because my IP address is completely different, it's a Japanese
Yeah.
one and not a US one, I look and I'm like, because, well, I noticed when I studied abroad in England for like 4 months, a couple of my shows were not like licensed over in England, and I couldn't watch them until I got back to the States, well, legally. That is because they had like a block on it, like, oh, you could watch it, you can watch like all of your shows except one, or the licensing will be available in like a month or so. It was really weird, but Japan had nothing. Japan, like
Yeah,
Japanese
Japan is
Crunchyroll is like bleh, and Japanese Netflix is bleh. Like there's nothing
Well, I've
on
heard
there.
Japanese Netflix has like a lot of different stuff that we don't have here, but it's not anime related.
Yeah, it's like Netflix exclusives obviously are going to be on there. I think maybe some of the Netflix exclusive anime because it's just Netflix in general. But I'm not really certain if it's the licensing is difference between like Japanese Netflix and US Netflix. But
I know there's one show that got recommended to me by my Netflix that was like, it looked like a Japanese version of The Real World, where it's like all these young, attractive people who live in like this beach house and they have drama. And I'm like, it'll be nice to watch people who are way more successful than me being attractive and normal on TV with subtitles. I'm excited for that.
Yeah, but
Also, since you mentioned Penguin Cafe, Pengu is on Netflix, and that is technically kind of an anime, so just an important note for our listeners.
yeah, I'm interested to see like if more Netflix exclusive anime actually keep up this quality because I didn't know anything about this show, and then everybody was just like, "Yeah, Devilman Crybaby," and then it got recommended to me by Marisa, so I was like, "All right, I guess I have to give it a shot if she liked it because we have similar tastes." And then I was just like, "Wow, I would have never watched this like if not for Netflix because oh my god."
yep.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that it stays, that the quality stays good, and I hope that more things keep coming, and I hope that Netflix just keeps producing things because it's easy to access over here. Everybody has Netflix or knows somebody who has Netflix.
Yep. Which is really nice.
It was kind of bad a few times because I share a Netflix with my mom and my sister, and we have that cheap account where you can only have two screens at once. So there were times where I had to like fight my sister who watches Parks and Rec like 24/7 so I could watch Devilman.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah, I had that problem once with my parents, and I was just like, I just got off of work. Get off now. Go watch Amazon.
watch Amazon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily, I
Yeah.
never have to fight my parents for Netflix.
But yeah, so I definitely give Devilman like a solid 9 out of 10. Like it had some issues where it was like a little slow in places for me, and like just the overall feeling left me like dead inside. So I was like, I can't give you a perfect 10 because of what you did to me. So but it's definitely up there. It's such a great show. Like I highly, highly recommend it to anybody who's like even remotely considering it. If you don't really know if you want to watch it, you should watch it.
I mean, if you are okay with literally a blood-soaked psychedelic orgy of gore in the first episode, and again, a girl shouting, "Look at how big Akira's dick is" in episode 2. If you can jump that hurdle, just stay for the ride.
It's the greatest mix of drama and comedy in any anime I've watched in a long time.
Oh yeah, definitely agree on that one.
I don't like assigning numbers to things usually, but I'm gonna be a little less generous and give it an 8 out of 10.
All right.
I think it has inspired me enough to want to go read the original manga more. I've read the synopsis, and it's basically the same story with some minor tweaks. And the manga art has kind of just enchanted me, so I think I might enjoy that a little more. That might be a little more to my taste, but
That's
definitely a
probably true.
very solid, well done show. It, like you said, it's funny, and then the very last episode will break your heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not really gonna give it a rating, because it's really difficult. I'm gonna say it's up there. It's definitely my rating system is very different. I rate things on my own little list between like gold, which are series that I will forever love for the rest of my life, uh, and then bronze is things where I'm like, I like the series. It wasn't bad, and moving on. And silver was like, this is really good. I'm gonna recommend it to people, but I might forget it later on, like way down the line, and I'm gonna probably put Devilman in that like silver range. I really enjoyed it. It was a fantastic show. Artistry was beautiful. The directing was great. Pacing, eventually, like once it hits that end of episode 1, it just takes you on the ride and continues on. And I didn't want to stop. I just kept watching episode after episode. Thanks Netflix for your auto thing.
Thank you, autoplay.
Thank you, autoplay. But I'll say like the only issues I kind of had was, because the pacing was very fast. It moved really quickly. There was so much in there. There's a lot.
It's
Um,
very dense.
there was a lot of subtleties and a lot of dense material that like they could have spent a lot more time on, which I understand probably why they didn't, because certain like I'm gonna use this as a reference, the recent Thor Ragnarok movie where it was like, oh, Loki's like, spoilers, movie's been out for a while. Loki was impersonating Odin, and Thor just does his little thing and moves on. Like that was it. They didn't spend too long on it, and I was really happy that they didn't, because certain things you don't want to spend way too much time ruminating over. But there was a lot of stuff, and a lot of messages in there in general. There wasn't just like there's one like main message, but there's so many different smaller ones that I wish they could have stuck with it a little bit more. But like like a lot of Japanese media compared to cartoons where they kind of like blatantly like slap you over the face with the message. I'm happy it was very subtle, because everyone interprets it very differently, because it is a very, very artistic series.
Definitely. And yeah, I think on that note, we'll wrap this up here. As you can tell, we all enjoy Devilman immensely, and I hope it gets more attention so Netflix keeps producing series like this, because it was an incredible ride. So, quick housekeeping thing also, Tobias and I are going to be guests at Playthrough Gaming Convention on the 17th and 18th of February. It's going to be in Raleigh, so if you're in Raleigh, come check us out. I'm going to be talking about gaming in 2017, reviewing that, as well as talking about PC versus consoles. So anybody who goes to see that is going to hate me by the end of it. So I'm going to probably need to bring a bodyguard or two. But other than that, I've been Ryan. I was joined by Marisa, Sully, and Tobias. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.